No.
Okay. All right. That said, we have the minutes of April 15 meeting in hand. Do I hear a motion for approval?
I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the approval of the minutes is in the affirmative. All right, with that said, we'll move on to item 4. The topic for discussion today are the tax collection periods and subsequent discussion regarding the question that's been posed to us regarding both the penalty and discount periods. Just as a summary, we have solicited input from the tax collectors countywide. We had a decent response rate. I'm looking at the printout from last week, though. I don't know if mine's entirely up to date, but we'll go with what we have here for now. If anything I'm mentioning sounds out of date, then please set me right on that, if you would. So,
Hey, Gary.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The information we had last week compared to this week didn't really change. I think you had 16 respondees. An additional letter came in, I believe, but no additional information from any other municipalities, as far as I know.
I checked my email after inquiring with Stacy, and I didn't find anything, at least from you, Stacy. So, since the 23rd. So, with that said, we'll go on. I don't know that we're going to be referencing specific things in here too often, so we can use what we got for now. If anybody wants to offer anything else, they certainly can do that. All right. So the question that's been posed to us really is in comparison to some of the other counties, I guess, some of them have announced extensions for the discount period, which ends tomorrow. Is that correct?
Correct. Correct.
So this would be our last opportunity to make any alteration to that if we would so choose. In the interim, we have collected this data from the tax collectors. I've reviewed what I have in hand and feel that it offers us some excellent guidance. But at this point, I'll open the floor up for discussion on the matter.
This is Vince. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Just to make things a little easier, I put together 5 options as to what direction we could go. And based on what I've read, there appears to be consensus to leave the discount period alone, leave it as April 30th. And there also seems to be, with what I read, a strong agreement to extend the penalty, or excuse me, extend the waiver period and eliminate the penalty. But there's 3 things I've read. Keep the discount the same, discount period the same, waive the penalty. But there were some comments from some of the tax collectors about if we make it December 31st, they're going to have some issues closing their books, so to speak, because they can't, I guess, take a check past December 15th. So one of the options that I had stated is option 5, which keeps the discount period the same, does grant a waiver period, but then does put in a penalty starting, I believe option 5 starts that at November the 1st. That could also be pushed back to December 1st, and it would still give the tax collectors, I think, enough time to close their books. So that would be the direction I would support. I'm done.
Okay.
Robin is in my office. Would she be able to talk? She has some input on that.
Sure. That's fine.
Thank you.
The concern that the tax collectors gave in regard to settlement
it does not exist. The tax bills all say that they will not accept a personal check after December 14th. That's not going to change. That's what those tax bills say. They still have to settle between January 1 and January 15th. So there's no impact on them settling. The rule is still that they do not have to accept a personal check after December 15th. It doesn't matter how the person's paying, at face or at penalty. After December 14th, they're not required to take a personal check.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else want to weigh in? Dana, do you have anything? I know you had some things in writing. Do you want to offer an opinion on anything that's been said or otherwise?
So once we saw what the tax collectors stated, I do agree with not extending the discount period, and the penalty period, waiving that is okay with me. It doesn't have a material impact on us. And I don't think it would have a material impact on the municipalities either, because they're paid at the same time. It's a small.
So in other words, you're saying that the vast majority of revenues are generally collected in either of the other two periods.
Correct. Now, it could slow down collections, and that could pose a problem if people are holding their checks because they know there's not a penalty.
I think that will happen, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And we'll have more information in 2 weeks on how many people actually paid in the discount period.
Right. Okay. Let me ask this. Now, I just confirmed with Keith a little while ago that we have the option, of course, of taking no action on the discount period, which is, I believe, what Vince has suggested. And then we have various options available regarding the penalty period. However, Keith did confirm for me that that decision does not need to be made today. So is there, Dana, in your opinion, is there additional data that we could gain that would be helpful by delaying a decision on the penalty period?
Yes. So if our collections continue to come in the way that they're expected to come in, then there wouldn't be as much impact on extending that deadline. But if everybody holds off and we see our collections drop by 50%, that would become a material cash flow issue. Probably more so for the municipalities than us.
So with the penalty period, the option would, especially if it was extended, but
yes.
Either way, those for whom paying right now would be a difficulty, a hardship, there would still be, they're not facing an immediate deadline. So there would be time for them to make a decision, and it simply becomes to them then whether it's more advantageous to come up the money in the face period or to accept the additional penalty in exchange for the ability to wait for presumably more stability, better income or whatever. So,
yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Well, when I asked for the spreadsheet, I did ask that we break it into the two separate decisions, knowing that it wasn't necessarily just that clean, but it does sound to me like it could be addressed as two separate decisions. Is there any reason for us not to make the decisions closer to? Obviously, the penalty period decision has to be made now. I'm sorry, the discount period has to be made now, so we could do that. What would be the feeling regarding delaying the penalty decision until we have more information?
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Vince. You go ahead.
Yeah, Dana, let me run this by you. If we spread the face period out till either the end of October or the end of November, initiate the penalty period either November 1 or December 1, will that entice people to pay before that penalty period?
My personal opinion is yes.
Okay.
If we extend the face period, that's going to encourage people to pay towards the end of the phase period.
Mhm.
And we'll see those collections increase. So theoretically, you would see people pay later if you extend the periods. So that's where the risk is if we announce that we're not going to, if people aren't paying in the discount period the way they normally do, we could be encouraging them to hold their check for another 4 or 6 months.
Yeah, but if we waive all penalties or waive the penalty for up till the end of the year, they're just going to wait till December.
Yes.
So I would think if we cut that face period to like November 1, maybe, that would be our best bet. And I really don't know what more analysis would do to change that. But I'll let Jean speak. I know I talked over top of her. I'm
To
sorry.
answer, since you mentioned that question, though,
That's
let
right.
me just address that question. I mean, the analysis you'd want to do is ask your municipalities if a 30-day difference between October 1 and November 1 would make a substantial difference to their cash flow. And I imagine you're not going to get a uniform answer on that. For some, it could be significant, others perhaps not. Would you agree, Dana?
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Jane's waiting to speak. So
So I'm think it's interesting that Deborah Weist in Silver Spring says that waiving the penalty amount on the average home in Silver Spring Township would save that taxpayer about $80.
Can't hear you, Jean.
Really?
Yes,
Is that any better, Vince?
a little bit.
Okay. So to reiterate, Deborah Weist in Silver Spring states that waiving the penalty amount on the average home in Silver Spring would save the taxpayer about $80. I think that that's an interesting point. When I read this table, I see that lots of the tax collectors talked with their municipalities. So I don't know if we reach out to all of them and ask them again, and ask for more input if it is helpful. And unfortunately, many tax collectors didn't bother to respond to this, and that seems to be something that happens with our municipalities also, that we reach out to them and, a significant portion of them don't bother to respond. Keith, I do have a question for you about the May 19th date. What makes us able to delay a decision past May 19th?
You can't delay a decision past May 19th. The law is that when it became effective, you have 30 days by which to make the decision and distribute the resolution to the tax collectors.
So even if we were going to, let's say that we decided that we would now go out and ask for input from our municipalities, we still have to have a decision in writing to the tax collectors by May 19th.
Absolutely.
Regardless whether it's a discount or penalty.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's all I have.
I just make an observation of that, which is that the tax collectors, some of them talk to the municipalities because they're co-located, some of them don't. And I think this would be a question to ask the municipalities because this goes directly to their cash flow. And if they don't respond, the problem with the tax collectors right now is they're busy collecting taxes because you're coming up against the deadline. So I'm not surprised that we didn't get more responses. I think we heard from the ones who really have given us good guidance in the past: Hampton, Silver Spring, Upper Allen, Camp Hills. The guidance I thought was exceptional. Newville's guidance was very helpful to me. There's probably some others, but some people obviously gave this some thought, and I think they should be applauded for that. But I personally would like to see us at least give an opportunity to the municipalities to answer this one question regarding the penalty period. I think it's a very focused question. October 1 or November 1, will it make a material difference to you? And they're going to be pretty motivated when it comes to issues of cash flow.
I don't mean to interrupt, but keep in mind that each municipality has the option to do its own resolution. So what we do would only be for the benefit of the municipalities to decide whether they want to go along with what the county's doing. they can determine their own collection processes by
Okay.
whether or not they do their own resolution.
Right. Okay. So ours is just for our piece. They can do whatever they want, but is there advantage or no advantage to us being uniform or largely uniform with the municipalities, Dana or Kathy or Robin?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that again?
I guess my question was, okay, so the municipalities can do what they want, what's in their best interest. They already have that power. But does it, if we have some setting it in October 1, some setting it November 1, and we're doing whatever we want because that's what affects us, does that create any more confusion? Is it better if we have some degree of uniformity between the municipalities and the county? Or doesn't it matter?
I think it matters. I think we need to have the uniformity. It has all, I mean, tax collector, they have software that they would probably have to change.
And how many of them are using the county software now?
Hang on a minute.
Okay. And will that matter?
There's 7 tax collectors who don't use the county software. But any way you look at it, they're gonna have to make some kind of adjustments to their software because they're gonna have to, if they're collecting county bills at face until October 31st,
Yeah.
and then they're going into penalty, but the township says, well, we're not gonna collect any penalty. They're gonna have problems because they're gonna have to take the county money and figure out how to post it, and then turn around and figure out how to go in and post township money, differently. And their software, their systems are set up. It's one bill, you post it, you distribute. So it's going to be an issue for them.
So in that sense, does that suggest that logistically it would be better if everybody had the same date?
Yes, we think so.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I have a question for, now this is county, looking at it from the county perspective. Does anyone see any problems with option 5 and the options that I presented? And if someone doesn't have it, I'll read it to you.
Please read it aloud.
Sure, hold on here.
Yeah.
What option 5 is, folks, keep discount period as it is, April 30. May 1 through October 31 would be the face period. And then the penalty period would be November 1 past. That, to me, at least what I read, addresses everybody's concerns.
Yeah.
There's time to close. Well, closing the books is not an issue. I get that. Now, thank you for
Okay.
whoever gave that information. Robin, thank you.
Robin. Yeah.
But this
So Vince,
doesn't.
what you're saying is,
Yeah.
What you're saying is the penalty period would basically begin November 1 under
Correct.
under this proposal. Okay, and our choice was really either to make it November 1 or December 1.
Yeah.
So if we go with the earlier date, the municipalities are getting the best deal possible.
I think so.
Okay.
Does anybody disagree with that? Please speak up.
I
Did I
am
see-
in agreement, Vince.
Okay.
I
Did I
just
see
have
Tom
one.
Bruneau on here earlier?
Yes, I'm here.
From a municipal standpoint, how does that sound to you?
Obviously, the earlier the discount, the penalty period ends, the better for us. The less people are going to wait longer into the year to pay their tax. I spoke with our tax collector yesterday, and by the end of the discount period tomorrow, we probably will have received over 90% of our taxes. So it's not going to make that much of a difference. My concern is in the wording of Act 15, where it says that waive any penalty or fee otherwise associated with the late payment of this tax if paid in full by December 31st. December 31st is the date called out in the act, and I'm wondering if the local taxing jurisdictions have the latitude to choose a separate date. I guess that would be a question for your solicitor.
Keith?
Or a question for your solicitor, but I've looked at that, and I know Franklin and some other counties have addressed it. It says, the act says, waive any fee or penalty otherwise associated with the late payment of tax if paid in full by December 31. If you extend the penalty period to start, for example, November 1st, then the people will pay the fees, will have paid that tax with a penalty when they otherwise would. So it would have been paid in full by December 31, well before it. That's the interpretation that I have on it, together with some other counties as well. So we're really talking about, in extending the face period, you're basically saying we're only waiving the penalty from July 1 and under option 5 up to October 31st. And if it's paid during that time, the penalty is waived. That's how I read that statute.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, thanks for your input, Tom. Okay, so it sounds like what we have in front of us is the option to go further with the municipalities and ask about a December 1, or we just adopt the November 1, which would be in their interest, presumably anyhow. I doubt we get much objection from them unless they've already made a decision on a different date. So what's the feeling?
Gary, this is Vince. You know, in all due respect to everyone, I am considering making a motion regarding option 1. I really don't know if going back to the municipalities at this time is going to make any major difference. I feel that if we make a decision today to just hold on the discount period but not address the penalty period, may create even more confusion. This way, not to be hasty, but I think, at least in my opinion, you have enough data to make a decision today.
Okay, option 1 you mentioned?
No, I'm sorry, Gary. Option 5.
5. Okay,
Yes.
all right, okay. Okay. I mean, if you put it to if you make the motion, we'll need a second, and then if there's opportunity for discussion. So it's entirely up to you. As you know, you can make a motion at any point.
Oh yeah, I know, but I didn't know if anybody else had comments or other questions.
Since I'm in agreement with you, I don't see the value in prolonging this any longer. I've received phone calls from several tax collectors asking me, hey, when are you making a decision on this? And I hope you can hear me, Vince. So
Yes.
I think that a delay doesn't do anything for us at this point in time.
Okay.
Commissioners, this is Kelly Niederer speaking for the Treasurer's Office. We have also been receiving emails related to the collection of this, be it confused. And in looking at this from just simply my perspective, and I am new to this, it appeared from some of the information that, as Dana had mentioned, in the next several days, I think 2 of the respondents indicated that they're expecting about 3,500, 3,600 payments from mortgage companies. Those are payments that have already been collected that people have paid and will be paid within the discount period. And then when the gentleman from the township indicated that 90% of theirs will be collected, it's my perspective that what you would be doing is really aiding businesses in delaying the payment without being subject to a penalty. And I believe that businesses would welcome that reprieve to extend their payment longer, and that portion is not the largest portion of the tax collection, as best as I can tell. So for what it's worth, I offer that as my perspective.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, anybody else have additional things to add? Sounds like we've covered a lot.
Yeah, Gary, I'm gone ahead. We'll go ahead and make a motion here that we advise our solicitor to create a resolution that will designate for year 2020 regarding county property tax collection and extension options to keep the discount period the same, ending April 30th, 2020. The face period would be from the period May 1 through October 31, and November 1 would begin the penalty period, and that penalty will remain at 10%.
And I'm going to second that motion, and I want to make sure that we're pointing out that we are indeed then extending the face period.
Okay, I think that's understood. It's not, it is now. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion on the motion?
Commissioners, I apologize for interrupting, but
That's all right, please.
if you wouldn't mind rephrasing that motion to authorize the execution of resolution that provides for those options that Commissioner DiFilippo mentioned in his motion.
You
That
okay
way,
with that?
when it's voted upon, it will be self-executing and effective.
Vince, you okay with that amendment?
Oh, yes.
Okay, and the second has to be in line with that as well. So
That's correct.
And
Jean,
I
you're-
second as amended.
Okay, very good. Call the question then. All in favor of the resolution as stated indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously in the affirmative. Okay, terrific. I want to thank everybody for their input on this. And I do think we should make some special notification to the tax collectors, thanking them for their input. I found this to be helpful, even just beyond the question of the day. So,
Yes,
anything
same here.
Yeah. Anything additional on that issue?
I think as we go forward and having read this, all of this input, there is concern about what will happen in 2021 and how we're going to handle that. And so the time to think about that, if we're even permitted to make changes, would be sooner rather than later.
But as I understand it, everything's just going to revert back to by itself. We don't need to take any action for things to revert to the standard deadlines. Is that right, Keith?
That's correct.
Okay. So, there are specific.
I'm sorry, Gary. On the table, there were several tax collectors that addressed that they think they're going to need. There might be some need for tax relief in 2021. As opposed to what is happening in 2020, particularly because people that aren't paying their mortgages right now, their escrow isn't going into those accounts for 2021 taxes. So I think we have to have that. We have to be thinking about how we're going to handle loss of tax revenue next year, and if we need to make adjustments to these tax periods, if we are permitted via an amendment to legislation. It's just something to think about. It doesn't, we don't have to do anything about it today.
So we'll send a letter to our delegation. They'll be right on it.
Hey, God.
Honestly, Keith, what would be the appropriate time frame for us to? I mean, that would have to be a legislative remedy, as I think Gene alluded to, right?
It is a legislative remedy, yes.
Right. Okay, so it's on our radar, but is there any concrete action we can take other than just advocating for that?
In my opinion, no. I mean, we have this Act 15 of 2020 that allows you to make the changes to the penalty and the face values of discounted taxes. And that's from the legislature. And that's what you'll need for any year that follows.
Okay. All right. Well, it's on our radar now. If anybody else has any other suggestions other than continue to monitor it, I'm wide open, but we have some time. All right. Is there anything additional on this issue? All right. Everybody's input has been very helpful. We'll move on to other business then.
I have nothing, Gary. This is Sandy.
Yeah. Okay. Staff, Stacy, Dana, anybody else? I see Tammy Bender.
I don't have anything additional.
I don't have anything additional either.
Okay, very good. In that case, I'll ask for a motion for adjournment.
I move.
Okay, we stand adjourned. Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.